Welcome, everyone. Call the 24th session of council to order this Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. In-person meetings have resumed with a hybrid format option where members of council and the public can still join electronically via Zoom. The meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the township website. All rules apply to the meeting as if everyone was attending in person, and if there is a problem with the technology impacting the proceedings of a meeting, the meeting may be recessed at the direction of the mayor to confirm that the electronic format is performing effectively before proceeding further with the agenda. In the event of connection or service disruption to those attending electronically, the mayor may recess the meeting to allow for attempts to reconnect. So we'll call the meeting to order at 5 o'clock and note that we will be going into closed shortly. So with that, I would ask everyone to rise for the national anthem. We acknowledge that we are being hosted on ancestral lands of the Haudenosaunee, Mississauga, and Omama-Winini people. We acknowledge and welcome the presence of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, Inuit, and other First Nations from across this vast land who also make this place home. The lands we are on today are recognized in the Two-Row Wampum, Dish with One Spoon Treaty, Treaty 27, and the Crawford Purchase. Confirmation of the agenda. The recommendation is that the agenda of February 13th, 2024 meeting of council be adopted as circulated, and there were no amendments, so we'll leave it as circulated. Do we have a mover? Deputy Mayor, so moved, seconded by Councillor Willis. All in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof for open session? Seeing none. Closed session. We will be going into closed session now. The recommendation is that the Council of Loyalist Township now move into closed session to discuss items which relates to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land, labor relations or employee negotiations, and personal matters about identifiable individuals pursuant to section 239B, C, and D of the Municipal Act. Do I have a mover? Councillor Broderick, seconded by Councillor Willis. All in favor? Motion is carried. We are in closed session. Welcome, everyone. We'll reconvene the meeting, 6:01. We opened the meeting at 5 o'clock. We've been in closed session for an hour. And we will rise and report that the Council of Loyalist Township was in closed session to discuss items which related to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land, personal matters about identifiable individuals, and the labor relations or employee negotiation pursuant to section 239 B, C, and D of the Municipal Act. And coming out of that meeting, there is a motion to come forward into open session, and it'll be up on the screen in a moment. So the motion was that the report from the Engineering and Environment Division, February 13th, 2024, re-proposed property exchange with Limestone District School Board be received, and the council authorized staff to proceed with the proposed land transfer of the two parcels on North Street as outlined in the letter from the Limestone District School Board, and the council authorized staff to request a transfer for a road widening along Durham Street to address any possible future intersection improvements in the area, and the council authorized the mayor and CEO to execute the land transfer documents. Do I have a mover? Councillor Ennis, seconded by Councillor Broderick. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. That brings us to open forum. So there's 15 minutes of all regular council meetings set aside for open forum. Any individual may address council to voice opinion on subjects of municipal concern, excluding matters subject to the public planning meeting, i.e. under the Planning Act. Persons can only speak once and for no more than 3 minutes. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with Ontario Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, that all information provided for or at a public meeting, consultation, or other public process are considered part of the public record. In-person meetings have resumed with a hybrid format, and individuals can join electronically. And anyone that's in the the virtual audience can use the raised hand option to be brought into the meeting at the appropriate time. At this time, we have two people that have signed up. John Marshall. Present.
I had nothing prepared, so I had nothing prepared right now, but for next meeting, I should be ready, okay?
But you, pardon me?
I did sign up.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I told that, I told her, but I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay, thank you. The other that we had was Ted McGrath. You just could come up to the seat here, turn
There, right here.
or you can, yes, the mic right there is good.
Okay.
Sorry.
First of all, just gonna thank the council and mayor for allowing me to speak. My discussion today is unfortunately, I wasn't able to come to the other meetings to discuss the termination of the Kingston Cogen. You turned that down. I am asking the council, in the future, when there will be shortfalls, whether it be a project or a tax increase or budgetary thing where you have no money, why are you turning away tax-based revenue? Why are you turning away businesses? The potential spinoff of a cogen could have resulted in more manufacturing coming to the Loyalist. So my question is, when you have a shortfall, when you cannot do a project in Loyalist to benefit this community, what are you going to tell your constituencies? What are you going to tell your people of the Loyalist Township? I'm sorry, we have to raise our taxes, even though we gave away possible revenue. That to me is a shameful thing to do. I heard that it's due to pollution. What pollution is coming from the new battery plant? What pollution comes from the plant or the pool plant? compared to the cogen. That cogen was running back in the resin years. There was no complaints from the public. Why is there a big complaint now? So my question is, why are we closing revenue for Loyalist and closing projects when we need revenue? People are hurting. People don't need tax increases. I just want to be prepared to hear your statement when taxes be rose because we have a shortfall. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak to council under the open forum? Yes, please come to the podium, provide your name, and then share with us. And I'll just clarify that there are.
My name is Doug Cunningham, and I live at #1 Country Club Drive and the Bath Speedway, which is the Highway 33.
Are you here related to?
I am
the
here
development?
related to the Plan 15.
Okay,
Okay,
so that's going to be coming up next.
all right.
So there's the public meetings portion, and I've got your name down here, so I'll
Okay.
call your name when it's time
You're-
to proceed, okay?
Now you know who I am.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Doug.
I won't forget.
So,
My home. Okay.
yes. Just for clarification, there are some public meetings coming up, and there'll be time to address the public meetings at that time. And you were just one of them was the Bath development. So right now it's open forum. It's general discussion, not items that are within that development. So are there any other items that wish to be brought forward through open forum this evening? Being none, I'll go to the virtual audience. Is there anyone in the virtual audience that wishes to come in to the open to discuss with council? If so, please use the raised hand feature.
Mr. Mayor, I don't see anyone with their hand raised.
Okay. So that completes the open forum. Now we will go into the public meeting. So the first public meeting we have is related to 2238052 Ontario Ltd, Kaitlin Corporation, Phase 15, Draft Plan Subdivision and Zoning Bylaw Amendment. We have staff here. Please proceed with, if you have information to share.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So we have a proposal on Country Club at the corner of Country Club Drive and Main Street for a condominium. This is the public meeting regarding that. It's Loyal Estates Phase 15, and I believe we have two consultants, Angela and Roderick, who will do a presentation about that.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Angela Scabaris, and I hope everyone can hear me okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Okay. So I have a PowerPoint presentation that I would like to present, and I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes, we can see it in chambers.
Great, thank you. So the purpose of the meeting this evening is to provide an overview of the proposed residential development for Phase 15 of the Loyalist Country Club Estate development. The subject site is comprised of approximately 1.2 hectares and is located at the northwest corner of Highway 33 or Main Street and Country Club Drive. And as you can see, it's fairly irregular in configuration. With respect to the area context, it is part of the larger Loyalist Golf and Country Club Estates development. It is one of the last remaining undeveloped parcels within the settlement boundary in this area. And Highway 33, is under provincial jurisdiction, and Country Club Drive is under local jurisdiction of the township. So you can see there is residential development associated with the Golf and Country Club to the north, the Lafarge plant and surrounding lands. Its lands are located to the west. There's residential to the south and to the east. So just where we are in the process, we had a pre-consultation meeting with the township back in August of 2023. Applications were submitted at the end of last year and circulated, and we now have the statutory public meeting tonight. And I would just like to take this opportunity to thank the residents that have provided comments so far. We have reviewed them and hopefully are able to provide answers to the questions raised, and we do appreciate the response we received. So the official plan designation for the subject site is low density residential, permits singles, semis, and duplexes with a maximum density of 31 units per net hectare. The application that is before council is proposing single detached dwellings only, which results in a density of 16.39. So 21 dwelling units and substantially less than the maximum permitted. In comparison, just to sort of understand the difference, if the site were to be built out at the maximum built form of duplexes and the density, you could get 39 dwelling units on the site. So the proposed development does reflect current provincial, county, and township policy initiatives to provide a range of housing type and sizes. This development allows for modest intensification, takes advantage of existing infrastructure and services that are available. With respect to zoning, the site is zoned future development and was always the intention that the lands would be redeveloped in accordance with the official plan designation. The application that's being reviewed by the township is to rezone the subject site to residential type 3 exception. The lots are slightly smaller than some of the surrounding neighborhood, but similar zone to other areas within the excuse me, Country Estates community. The exception zone is required in order to recognize the irregular shape of this property and to provide site-specific standards, and I'll get into those a little bit later. So key issues that we've heard, there were others, but these were sort of the main ones. Density, and as I had indicated, we are almost at half of what is permitted. Access, location, as well as internal road design. The access, as I said, Highway 33 is provincial jurisdiction, and they will not permit access onto Highway 33. So the road has been located as far north as physically possible. Traffic and parking was another issue that was raised. Each dwelling will have at least 2 parking spaces, and in some cases 3, as they will have a 3-car garage and wider driveways, providing more than required by the zoning bylaw, and also the provision of visitor parking, which is actually not required. So we are amending the bylaw in order to permit or to require the visitor parking. Snow removal. Private contract with a maintenance company will be part of the Condominium Corporation, so that will all be looked after on site. And if on-site storage is not available, if it's an extremely heavy snowfall, that snow will be removed from site. There were a number of people who asked about grading and drainage, concerns about their properties being flooded. It is required to regrade the property to ensure that no storm runoff goes on to adjacent properties. And if this issue is being experienced right now, the regrading of the site should rectify that, because the engineers do have to direct any storm drainage onto roads and then into storm ditches and drainage systems. And one issue with respect to environmental concern, which was very helpful, we were advised of giant hogweed on the property, and this will need to be addressed as part of the site works, as it is extremely invasive. So just quickly, the draft plan of subdivision that's been submitted shows a local road, a condominium road, a ring road, which has 21 lots, single detached, fronting onto it. The lots have a minimum frontage of 11 meters. Some are a little bit larger than that. And due to the irregular shape of the site and to maximize the efficiency of the property, the condominium road was proposed as opposed to a municipal road. Sidewalks are provided along the internal road, and an amenity area is located up at the north end adjacent to the street and lot number 20. Again, the amenity areas are not required in this instance because they are single detached dwellings. However, the applicant felt that it was appropriate to provide some sort of an amenity area where there would be passive uses such as a pergola, maybe some seating, and this would all be landscaped. There is a buffer area located adjacent to streets A and streets B in order to provide some privacy screening for the abutting lots. And there is also a landscape buffer along Street D, the west side of Street D, as a buffer to the Lafarge plant. And I just should note that there's an existing municipal easement that runs along the westerly property line. So that's why the lots number 21 and 1 are a little bit larger than the others, and it will also run underneath the proposed Street D. So with respect to the proposed zoning, we've divided, they will all be residential type 3, but we've divided it into 3 zone categories in order to recognize the specifics of those lots. And the site-specific zone standards are regarding setbacks, coverage, driveway width, which is actually the increase in driveway width to accommodate the 3-car garages, and the addition of visitor parking and to allow for the private road. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is the zoning comparison between the residential type 3 zone that's in the township zoning bylaw and what is being proposed. So in terms of lot area, very minor reduction in the lot area that's currently required. In 2 cases, a reduction in the frontage by 1 meter, and in 1 case, an actual increase in frontage. And we wanted to make sure that that was maintained as a minimum. Front yard setback has been reduced. Side yard setbacks will be maintained as per the bylaw requires 3 meters on one side, 1.2 on the other. We are proposing 1.2 meters on each side. Exterior side yard, we only have, I think, 1 or 2 instances of that, and that's being reduced. Front yard setback rear yard setback minimally reduced. Garage setback will be maintained as per current bylaw requirements, and lot coverage has been increased slightly. Height will be the same, so the houses will not be any higher than what is currently permitted in the township's bylaw. So just some examples of built form. These are just examples. The architects are still working on details, but they are intended to be traditional design, 2 stories in height, a single oversized garage, so 1.5 width garage, as well as 3-car garage. On the Highway 33 or Main Street frontage, there is actually a situation which is called dual frontage. So the front and the back of the lot has access to a road. The internal would be the private road and the external would be Highway 33. Staff were of course, concerned about the visual look that was going to have. They did not want to have a reverse frontage situation, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, where you have fencing running all along the back of that lot, and it's not overly attractive. So the intent is to design those lots with a dual frontage. So the front facing Highway 33 will look like the front of a house, as similar to the photos that are here. And the rear will also have a porch and an access that looks like the front of a house, more traditional, with the driveway and the integrated garage. So in exchange, you know, I guess the downside or the alternative with this is that your landscaped area, your open space area, is a little bit reduced, but you have a much more visually pleasing dwelling elevation, and it does provide another option for people who do not want to have a lot of maintenance. So background studies that have been prepared as part of our application: traffic study, servicing report, stormwater management, noise impact study, stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment, hydrogeological report, geotechnical report, a planning justification report, as well as all the related drawings that go with each of those documents. Those have been submitted as part of the package, and the township has circulated to internal departments, the county, and commenting agencies. So we're just waiting for responses back from that review. To focus on some of the key reports, the traffic impact study, it has been prepared for the larger community on a phase-by-phase basis and has been updated in order to reflect the proposed development. So the information is up to date. It does look at site access and internal design, and no mitigation measures have been recommended. With respect to the servicing report, stormwater management, there has been, again, a full review of the larger community, updated to review this particular development, reviews sanitary sewer, local water main, and stormwater runoff will be addressed through the existing stormwater management facilities in the area, and no issues have been determined as part of that review. A noise study has also been prepared and updated specifically for phases 14, 15, and 16. It looked at 2 sources of noise: transportation sources along Highway 33, as well as stationary sources, which is the Lafarge plant. And mitigation measures include subdivision design. So those houses that are located, the dual frontage houses along Highway 33, actually act as a noise mitigation measure and screen some of the noise internally to the subdivision. Window design and window location, provision for air conditioning, forced air heating systems, and warning clauses are some of the mitigation measures that have been proposed. However, it was determined that minimum OBC standards would be sufficient. And if Lafarge were to expand their operating facility further east, they would be required to update their current environmental compliance approval, or ECA, in order to meet current government standards, and any mitigation required would have to be done at the source. Current operation does not impact phase 15, and control measures are not warranted as per the ministry criteria. So key items: proposed 21 single detached lots on a common elements condominium ring road, including sidewalks, amenity, and buffer areas. The development is consistent and in conformity with provincial legislation and policy initiatives. It does conform to the county and Loyalist official plans. The zoning amendment is required in order to address site-specific standards and to rezone the site from future development to a residential zone. And the technical studies support the proposed development. So next steps, we need to receive the balance of outstanding circulation comments, revised plans and or the reports in order to address any remaining technical comments, and then resubmit back to the township for additional review. And then at some point in the future, staff will provide a recommendation report to council. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions for the consultant? Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, through your worship. Just a couple of quick ones. You said in your presentation, basically it was a condominium road versus a municipal road. Can you briefly tell me what the difference is?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Condominium road is slightly smaller than a municipal road. It is owned by the Condominium Corporation. They are responsible for it. They maintain it, and it gets the same review with your engineering staff from a technical perspective. So it does need to meet standards for turning radii, for fire trucks, emergency vehicles, garbage trucks, that sort of thing. But it is in the ownership and the responsibility of the Condominium Corporation.
If I may continue, just a couple more. So basically, and I'm familiar with condominiums, so the residents or the purchasers of these properties will have to pay a fee, condominium fee, which will include garbage, snow removal, recycling, etc. And then the condominium organization will, for lack of a better word, police the traffic on that road and enforcement of parking, etc.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. And I should also add that any common areas, so the visitor parking area, the landscaped buffer areas, the larger amenity area, all of that is under the control of the Condominium Corporation, under the common elements.
And just one last question. Somewhere in the report near the start of it, why is there a need for this type of housing? Condominium specifically, I'm talking.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that the housing itself is actually freehold, so it's owned, and the land that the houses are sitting on are owned. It's only the road and the other common elements that are going to be under condominium jurisdiction. So it's I can get into the whole thing of provincial initiatives in order to try and provide additional housing. This is still maintaining single detached dwellings, which is typical for this area, but on a little bit more compact form, and smaller lots that provide options for people that may just not want to maintain a larger property.
And just the last one, based on something you just said. So in effect, there's no method I'm thinking of the dual frontage housing facing on Bath Road or county or Highway 33. There's nothing to prevent, for lack of a better word, any of those houses fronting on Bath Road to become dump sites, like people just not taking care of the backyard and losing sort of the effect of, I guess, the village look, for lack of a better term.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, staff were very concerned about the design detail of that and how it was going to look, and that is something that is common when you have reverse frontages where you have the rear yard abutting a street with fencing. That area gets weedy, it doesn't get maintained. This eliminates that opportunity because this is basically the front yard, or looks like the front yard for these individual dwellings. They will have a decorative fence, probably something like a metal fence, wrought iron fencing, and a gate and a walkway that goes up to a front door. So it will look more like a traditional house access.
Thank you. Councillor Willis.
Through your worship. I believe in the drawings that you showed, all of these look like two-story homes. So are they being designed and marketed to young families?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they are all two-story homes. I cannot comment on how they are going to be marketed at this time. I know Roderick is also on the line. I'm not sure he knows what the marketing is going to be, but Roderick, if you're there, I don't know if you can assist with that. Maybe not. So I can certainly ask. Oh, there he is. He's just
He just came
connecting.
into the meeting. Please go
Yeah.
ahead, Roderick. You are still muted.
Oops, sorry. I think I just got. Hello, can you hear
Yep.
me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just having some technical difficulties. My apologies. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Roderick Sutherland, Senior Development Manager here at Kaitlin Corporation. So, to answer that question, these homes are, yes, they're ideally for individuals that are looking to enter the real estate market, and they provide for, they're essentially a more affordable product, right? And that's the idea behind this site. So it had to be efficient, and that's what we're looking to achieve with the design, the overall design of this project as well.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Councillor Parks.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Angela, I guess. So this development is basically a tied parcel of land. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So these are quite popular in Kingston, or they have been being developed in Kingston, in the Crossfield, Augusta Drive area, if anybody wants to take a look at those. A little bit different setup with the garages in the back and the laneway being in the back, but similar sort of concept. So the other question that I had is in regards to the development agreement. When a purchaser purchases a unit, they are aware at that point in time that it is a condominium, common elements condominium corporation, and are aware of the rules and regulations that will follow with condominium corporation.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they would be made aware of that. I would assume through at the earliest at the marketing stage, and certainly at the agreement of purchase and sale. They would need to be made aware of that. That is correct.
So the other question that I had, one thing that you didn't speak about was sidewalks and maintenance on sidewalks and ownership of the sidewalks. I'm assuming that still stays with the condominium corporation?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. Yes, there are sidewalks, and they will be the responsibility of the condominium corporation. They will be required to be cleared, plowed, maintained.
The infrastructure, so the sanitary and the stormwater management, is that owned by the condominium corporation, or is that municipal still?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe those are municipal, under municipal jurisdiction, just for safety reasons. But so the municipality will have easements under the roadways and wherever else is required to maintain those if they need to.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Your Worship, to Angela, this is sort of piggybacking on a previous question. So has it been your experience that there is a market out there for young families who want less yard, less lot to maintain?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this is extremely popular. We are doing developments like this all over the GTA and beyond, especially on smaller sites. The roads are, the road requirements, you're looking at 18 meters in most cases for a municipal road that really is just all pavement. So this has made a much more efficient development and has become extremely popular over the last, I would say, 15 years.
Councillor Budrick.
This again through you, sir, would be through for Angela. With a narrower road, are there going to be issues with winter parking or anything like that that we have bylaws for in the rest of the municipality? And would there be concerns with the possibility of municipal or emergency services not being able to get down the road if there are cars parked on the street?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be something that would typically get addressed through the condominium corporation bylaw and would be set out in terms of restrictions of on-street parking. It would be very similar to municipal requirements, so that in the winter they would be advised that they are not permitted to park on the road, which is one of the reasons why Kaitlin wanted to ensure that they had like the larger driveway with the 1.5 wide garage, and also the 3-car garage, which is also providing a wider driveway. So we are not anticipating that that's going to be an issue, but that will be monitored by the condominium corporation.
Any other questions at this time for the consultants? Being none, thank you for the presentation and for the responses to all the questions as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll turn to staff. Is there any additional information at this time before we open it to the public?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, nothing additional at this time. As it's under technical review, at this point, we don't really have a position on anything, so we're just here to hear the public comments.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. So we're going to open it up to the public. Just before we do, I'm just going to read a bit of a summary here. That this hybrid public meeting is being held in accordance with the provision of sections 3412 and 5120 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, to consider an amendment to the Loyalist Township zoning bylaw 2001-38 and a draft of subdivision. The proposed amendments apply to a proposed subdivision located at the corner of Main Street and Country Club Drive in the village of Bath. The proposed subdivision consists of 21 single detached dwellings with attached garages and private driveways on a new condominium ring road. The condominium provides an amenity area and 4 visitor parking spaces, which includes 1 accessible parking space with sidewalks connected to the Country Club and Main Street. Landscaping blocks are located to provide buffering to existing development. A future condo application will be submitted to establish the condominium for the development. The proposed amendment to the Loyalist Township zoning bylaw 2001-38 as amended, if approved, will rezone the lands from the future development D zone to 3 separate site-specific residential type 3 exception zones and open space zone to permit the use and to address a number of site-specific performance standards to facilitate the development of single detached dwelling homes. So now council will hear in person or by his or her counsel, solicitor or agent, any person that claims to be affected by this application. So first off, I will go with the pre-registered, Mr. Cunningham. If you could please come back up and share your information with us.
My name is Bud Cunningham, as you do know. I'm going to talk about the environment on this piece of property that has been wide open. Now, walking that, because I live just down there, there are harrier hawks nesting there. There is osprey nesting there. There are owls nesting there, plus coyotes, foxes, rabbits, and about 55 trees. What is going to happen to them? Gone. There goes a higher level of carbon monoxide, because we have lots of trucks going down Highway 33 starting at 6 o'clock in the morning until about 6 o'clock at night. Plus, with right now with Kaitlin's trucks going up and down Country Club Drive, it's almost like Yonge and Eglinton in Toronto. It is unbelievable. And I live right on the corner. My windows and pictures are doing this all the time. Also, I wonder, I think some people might know this, that right beside this property was an oil depot. It sold fuel oil and diesel fuel and coal. I wonder if they've done an environmental check on this, because this will probably leak. There's tanks still there. They could have leaked onto this property on the side. Now, we also have maybe Kaitlin can tell us about the natural gas line, the valve there. Because a couple of years ago, we all got evacuated because one of the valves blew open. So I don't know if they questioned that. Is this going to be in somebody's backyard? And also, where it is right now, we have 3 school buses that line up on Country Club Drive, which will block that condominium road. Plus, we also have Canada Post right across the street. And if they take into consideration the road that's coming in, their headlights are going to be shining in people's bedrooms. And I was just wondering about on Country Club Drive, if the front yards are going to be front yards or they're going to be backyards. So it'll look kind of funny with all this row of houses, all front yards, and then seeing 5 houses as backyards. So it's just a question for them to do. And I'll let everybody else do the other stuff because I have a lot of stuff here, which we'll let them do. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll also just mention that the purpose of this evening is so that we can receive information. And the recommendation is that the information will all be taken and be brought back to council once all the comments have been received and the township, the departments, agencies, and the public have been addressed. But that's why we're just receiving this evening. Staff are writing. It's also videoed and it'll be addressed later. So that's the only one that we had registered. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak to this item? Oh, sorry there. I do have some, not pre-registered, but we're registered.
Okay.
Yep. If you could just give your name before you start.
Okay, my name is Beth Wanamaker. I live at 8 Country Club. From what I understand, Loyalist Township is at capacity with the water treatment plant. And how's that going to affect us now with more development? And also hydro there have been many unexplained power outages in my community. And the grid, is it able to accommodate more development in this area? And my second point, has there been an environmental study done as well? Many habitats, as Doug had just mentioned, will be destroyed. So I'm just wondering if there has been a study done. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a Sherry and Ken Scott as well. You wouldn't mind coming up? Sherry, Ken?
Yes, my name's Ken Scott. My wife and I just moved into the Bath area several months ago on Country Club Drive. We're at number 3. Just some concerns and questions. I feel somehow that the existing residents of the area haven't been totally taken into consideration with what I'm hearing. A lot of my questions have been answered tonight through this pretty slick presentation, but still, I think there's some that need to be cleared up. I understand that the homes backing on or fronting onto Highway 33 and Highway 33 being a provincial roadway. I'm assuming that's why all of a sudden the roadway got turned onto Country Club Drive, which confuses me somewhat, that the existing neighborhood should then be not taken into consideration in terms of the traffic and so on with the roadway going into this complex. We're at number 3, right across from the proposed driveway, and you can understand our concern, cars coming and going, and with what is traveling up and down the road now, it's pretty extensive. And I think it's going to add a lot to the congestion, and I think make life a little uncomfortable for the residents that live there now. I'd just like to ask also, the frontage onto Country Club Drive, is that also going to be the same as the frontage that fronts on to Highway 33 in terms of being no fences, fenced in? You know, my concern is you look out your front yard and you see a row of fencing along. And I understand that they have proposed that the frontage of these lots be deemed to be across Country Club Drive and Highway 33, even though access to the houses are from the road inside the complex. Am I explaining this clearly? Okay. This is my first time doing this also, so.
I'll just make sure staff understood the question.
Well, maybe I can just provide, sorry, through the mayor, maybe I can provide some clarification right now. It's my understanding that, yes, they are proposing the same as on 33, in which there'll be a somewhat, if you will, a false frontage in which the access from the vehicles will be from the condo road, but it will look like the front yard is onto Country Club Drive.
Okay, you didn't specify that in the presentation. We just talked about 33, unless I missed it. I may have been napping during that. Yeah, and safety, my concerns are the safety, privacy of existing houses. I worry about the aesthetic look to the overall development as you come in Country Club Drive. When you turn that corner, you know you're coming into a very nice subdivision, and I'd hate to see the nature of that aesthetic look depleted. Depleted is a decorating term, apparently, I don't know. Yeah, it just seems to be a lot of notwithstanding definitions to be changed and amendments. That sort of leads me to think that this property perhaps was not zoned for this type of development at the beginning of when all this started happening years ago, I suppose. And does that indicate that maybe some changes should be made to the design of it? I understand it will be developed in some way, but perhaps the design could be put together in a better way that enhances the neighborhood we live in. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next on the list is Michelle Roxler. Yes. No comment? Okay, thank you. And the last one was John Ashburn. You could just come forward. Just repeat your name and just provide us your information.
Yep. My name is John Ashburn. I live at 12 Holly Court in Bath. And I noted, Angela, that the number of points that you covered there exactly conform to the 9 points that I submitted in writing. So I think staff has also seen those, some of which has been addressed, some of which hasn't. My observation is that the idea here of development in a condominium form is a dodge to get around other issues that would arise given the high density of this particular development and the odd shape of the parcel of land that's involved. I've submitted to staff an alternative suggestion for the development that would in fact reduce the number of lots by 2, but would provide instead that there would be a single road, not a loop road, with a loop or a turnaround like a cul-de-sac at the end. And the reason I'm suggesting that is for several things to be considered. So one of them is snow removal. There is no place in the design here that I can see for the accumulation of snow. And it is highly unlikely that the condominium corporation is going to have a private contractor come in with a plow, a front end loader, and a series of dump trucks all at the same time to remove snow. There is nowhere to put the snow. A second thing that I would point out to you is that although the bylaws apparently are deficient in not specifying number of parking spaces, even our consultants firm in Aurora knows, because some of their other clients in Niagara, where I come from, have threatened lawsuits against the municipality for inadequate accommodation of parking. And while it's technically correct that in this thing that's being proposed here, there are 2 parking spaces per home, it's almost un-Canadian to allow a garage to accumulate a car. Garages in Canada, it's part of our culture, appear to accumulate household debris. Therefore, you only have 1 space for a car in a normal driveway. And the result of that is that you have spillover from permanent residents, and don't even think about their visitors, onto your roadways. In this case, you do not have a roadway that can accommodate the spillover, even if it isn't snowing. And so therefore, that spillover traffic is going to find itself parking spots along Country Club Drive, if not on Holly Court. And Country Club Drive is already a traffic management challenge. With the additional development Kaitlin's doing at the north end of their property, and with the construction traffic soon to be supplanted by the residential traffic, that intersection down at Country Club Drive and 33 is very busy and may in fact require traffic light or something like that. But if you go and walk it, there's a bend in the road. There's an island down near the 33 intersection. And that is where the access road to this development is going to be. In my experience, when people stop to get their mail or people just park in any of those front of those houses down near 33, there is traffic constriction as it is now. Given what's being proposed for this new development, we can expect that traffic constriction to be all the time, not just when people are picking up their mail. So I suggest that the parking or the visitors parking, although there appears to be no regulation, I would not give Kaitlin a lot of points for proposing 3+1 handicap parking. A final point on that I would also like to have looked at is that Kaitlin has generously proposed amenity areas. Given that we're now looking at a corporation which is going to be responsible for snow removal and garbage removal, I would like to assume that the purpose of the amenity area is not to accommodate dumpsters. And if it were to be dumpsters that end up there with the vermin that some of my neighbors have already referenced, this could be a major problem in the area, quite aside from it being an environmental concern and an eyesore. So if this is allowed to go forward as a condominium corporation, I would like to think that there be stipulations written into the condominium bylaws around parking enforcement, access for snow removal, and of course for garbage. And that in the case of a condominium corporation, that the garbage contract be required to do a route around the eventual road and remove garbage from people's driveways so that there is no accumulation within the development. Having a dumpster in there will be a major issue in future election campaigns if that were to happen. So thank you to staff for raising some of the other points that I've addressed, including the giant hogweed. And we'll look forward to hearing more when there's information available. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So that completes the list of pre-registered, or is there anyone else in the room that wishes to speak on this item? Being none, I'll ask the virtual audience if there's anyone that wishes to speak on this item. You could use the raised hand feature. We can bring you into the meeting.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I see I lost his name. An Andrew who has his hand raised.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Fitzgerald, a resident at 14 Holly Court. I'd like to reiterate everything that John Ashbourne just said. I think he articulated it very well. The comments I'd like to make with regards to this development is I fully agree that it seems to be some type of a dodge around the municipal requirements and bylaws for zoning, using the condo corporation to provide a community that I don't think is sustainable in the long term. With regards to the density, if the future development of that land needs to meet the requirements, it should meet the requirements in full conformance with the existing bylaws for type 3. And if there's a municipal road in there with type 3 accommodation or type 3 planning, there's no reason to object. But the manipulating of the different requirements to under the guise of a condo corporation causes me a lot of concern. Who's the condo corporation accountable to? Is the municipality willing to abdicate its responsibilities associated with roads and the environment and the area around that and the development to a condo corporation, where solvency of condo corporations are always a concern? The viability and the if things go wrong, what is the municipality then accepting in terms of liability around that area with a small condo road, challenges with parking, and challenges with snow removal? And it's one thing to take on the responsibility of a complex, a building, an apartment building that's a condo, but a condo corporation that has roadways that need to be cleared. What happens if the condo corporation fails, and who's responsible for that? I am not arguing any type of planning regulations. I think that if this area is developed for is designed for future development, was designated as such, it's a complicated piece of land, but maybe if the goal is high density, then make it proper high density. If the goal is development in accordance with type 3, then make it development in accordance with type 3 with municipal roads. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just go back to the virtual audience. If there's anyone else in the virtual audience that wishes to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature. We can bring you into the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, and Andrea would like to speak to council.
Good evening, Andrea. You are now in the council meeting virtually. You're still muted. If you could unmute, then you could address council.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Crossland. I'm a resident at Holly Court. I've been in the community for over 20 years now, and I must admit that I have very much enjoyed the community and all the surrounds around it. This new development causes me a great deal of concern, primarily from a density issue. One, it is doesn't really conform with the rest of the community. It would be something that would be quite different from the look and feel of the rest of the community. And being a Holly Court resident, we have the benefit of a park at the end of our cul-de-sac. And with all of the extensive development that Kaitlin is doing, we're finding that this park is becoming quite popular with all of the residents. And I'd like to put it to Kaitlin to consider more green space. This is especially if these new developments are being geared towards young families. I don't see anywhere in the development or plans any accommodation for more green space or play areas or anything of that nature. So I thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I just look at the virtual audience again. If there's anyone that wishes to speak to this item in the virtual audience, please use the raised hand feature and we can bring you into the meeting.
We have a Paul who's has their hand raised.
Good evening, Paul. You're in the meeting now if you'd wish to address council.
Oh, hi, my name's Janice. Paul's my husband, so I am going to do the speaking. I live in the Loyalist community. I live on Abbeydown Drive and have done for the last 12 years. Over the last couple of years, there has been an explosion of development by Kaitlin Corporation, a number of phases that have been built. My concern, even though I'm not living close to where the development would be, is that there are a lot of developments that have been unfinished. We have phase 8 behind us, which is east of Country Club, south of Abbeydown, where there's been a number of 2-story structures built. A number of those were bought as investments. They're not being lived in by new residents moving in. A lot of them are for rent or they're up for sale. Which begs the question, how suitable are 2-story developments in our particular neighborhood? There's another development, Greenhaven Court, which is still not finished. And the houses that are finished, the residents living in them have a number of issues which are still not settled. And as a matter of fact, one family had to move out for a year and then move back in again. That's how poorly the house was constructed. We also have phase 10, which is north of Greenhaven, that has not, they've got the infrastructure built or put in, but there's no building happened there. That has not even been started. They haven't even started basements yet. So I guess my question is, why would the Loyalist Township consider giving another permit to Kaitlin when they haven't finished what they've started? Let them finish what they've started and then let them apply. That would be my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. I just look at the virtual audience again. If there's anyone in the virtual audience that wishes to speak on this topic, if you could use a raised hand feature, we'll bring you into the meeting.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't see anyone else with their hand raised.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone that took the time to come and share your information with us. So we'll proceed. Are there any further questions from council or staff? Council Willis.
Through your worship, so if I'm reading this correctly, then the roads that are planned here are 6.5 meters wide. If that was a road that was going to be assumed by the township, what would we be requiring for a road width?
Excuse me, through the mayor, the minimum width for a municipal road is 20 meters.
Any other questions for staff at this time from council? Councillor Parks.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to staff, I'm not sure if I couldn't find this in the report, but has the environmental been done on that site?
Through the mayor to Councillor Parks, it's my understanding that no, there has not been there through the provincial policy statement and the official plan. There was no requirement for an environmental study to be done.
Any other questions from council? Being none, the recommendation with the report is that the report from the Development Services Division, February 13th, 2023, Republic Meeting 2238052 Ontario Ltd, Kaitlin Corporation, Draft Plan of Subdivision D12041 2023, and Zoning Bylaw Amendment D14019 2023 be received and that a recommendation be brought forward to council once comments from the township departments, agencies, and public have been addressed. Do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor, so moved, seconded by Councillor Broderick. Any comments from the mover? Seconder? Anyone else? Being none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. The next item is passing of the minutes of January 9th, 2024. Are there any errors or omissions noted by council? Seeing none, recommendation is that the minutes of the meeting of council January 9th, 2024 be adopted as circulated. Do I have a mover? Councillor Willis, seconded by Councillor Parks. Any comments? Being none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. I will just mention to the people in the audience, if you wish to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome to. If you prefer not to, then you are free to go. Thank you for taking the time. And the next item up are the minutes of the January 30th, February 1st, and February 6th Committee of the Whole meetings, which were focused on budget. Any errors or omissions noted by council? Seeing none. Sorry, Councillor Budrick.
Just a mention, looking through here, there is no discussion of specifically raising the bag tags in here, because I'd like to speak to, still saying that I'm against it, even though I know it needs to be done.
Okay. That was captured in the spreadsheet that we approved. Is that where it is instead of in this item right here? This is the overview. Okay, so it's in the supporting documentation. So if there's no other items, the resolution for the committee. Yes.
Just for clarification, under, I don't know what page it is here, but the 1, 2, 3, fourth page, or sorry, the third page down, resolution COW .2024.3. I just want to make sure I'm sure on this. So it says we've removed it, but we put it back in, correct? We've removed the spraying, or totally removed it? All right.
Yes, that was
Okay.
removed
I thought
for.
it had gone back in. All right.
That was
Thank you.
that was removed for this year only.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Being none. The recommendation is that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held January 30th, February 1st, and February 6th, 2024 be adopted as circulated, and the resolution for the Committee of the Whole 2023.5 is number 1, that the report from the Finance Division, January 30th, 2024, read 2024 draft budgets be received, that the 2024 general rate operating budget be approved as amended as follows. A township tax levy requirement of $21,420,738. A township residential tax rate of 0.00862980. Number 3, the 2024 service area operating budgets be received as follows. $937,100 for Amherst Field Transit. $6,140,200 for Amherst Island Ferry. $12,368,900 for utilities. Number 4, the Committee of the Whole recommends that the 2024 Amherst Field Transit special area rate tax rate remain the same as 2023 at 0.00058900. The 2024 general rate capital budget be received totaling $62,171,200. The 2024 utilities capital budget be received totaling $8,855,400. That staff post notice of intention to adopt the 2024 budget, and that staff bring forward the bylaw to adopt the 2024 budget to the February 13th, 2024 meeting for adoption. Do we have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Broderick, so moved. Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any comments from the mover? Seconder, anyone else? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Economic growth. Revision to the waterworks bylaw. Sorry, did I miss something? Oh, just the little one. I'm getting a little anxious, I guess. So the proposed new procedural bylaw. Thank you for reminding. So is there any additional information at this time from staff?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I could just briefly describe the events leading up to this discussion. The Municipal Act requires every municipality to pass a procedural bylaw to govern the calling, place, and proceeding of meetings. The current procedural bylaw was adopted in 2018 with 2 amendments in 2020 relating to COVID-19 limitations. Staff undertook a review of the procedural bylaw in 2023, and staff presented some considerations at the June 5th Committee of the Whole meeting, where we received some comments from you. We took those comments and then reviewed the procedural bylaw wholly, and we used the following principles to draft the new proposed bylaw that's in front of you right now. So some of the principles that we used to guide this, it was ensuring good governance, promoting public engagement, aligning with legislation, promoting efficient and effective meetings, using plain and clear language, and then also being transparent as much as possible. Staff are proposing some substantive changes as detailed in the staff report. Some of this relates to meeting times and dates, committee of the whole meetings, time limit changes to delegations, presentations, and open forum. There's also some consideration provided relating to electronic participation of members. The order of business has significantly changed as well, and a sample agenda has been included in the report package. There's also some changes to the reconsideration and bringing up a reconsideration motion. The last thing is council correspondence. So how you receive correspondence from other municipalities, from other organizations, from members of the public.
Thank you. Are there any questions for clarification for staff at this time? Councillor Budrick.
Have one right away. During electronic, I just have to get back to it, electronic participation. It has in its, sorry, I passed it too far. I'll find it.
Page 6 is it on? Okay, well, he's finding it, Councillor Broderick, and then we'll come back to Councillor Broderick.
Through your worship, I did have a conversation with the clerk and just on the same issue, just that there be some kind of provision if a councillor had a medical situation where they could not attend a meeting, if there could be some kind of consideration done at that time to waive that. So they might attend meetings electronically beyond the second. And the only other comment I had, and I was thinking of his worship at this, somewhere around page 35, one of the things is to restrain the members. And I'm wondering if the word restrain might be a little harsh. So just a thought. It's my teaching background, sorry.
So I'll confirm with the clerk on the first one, but if there was an issue like that where someone could not attend the meetings in person, there's still the option to waive the procedural bylaw and permit them to still attend.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in speaking with Councillor Podrick, the example that he provided was if a member was in the hospital or was unable to leave their home due to an illness, whether or not they'd be able to participate through electronic means. And the answer is yes. However, I would ask council to pass a motion to waive the procedural bylaw so that they could participate via Zoom for more than one meeting or more than 2 meetings per calendar year. I would caution against putting any subjective language at this time because I think one of my original consideration was to put in the language saying that if it's beyond the members' control, then they would be able to participate in more than 2 meetings per calendar year. But I took that away and I decided against it because again, it is subjective and I just don't want that kind of control on my end anyways.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Were there others, Councillor Broderick, or is that it? Okay? Councillor Budrick, do you have it now?
Sure. Yes, I was kind of referring to that because in it says, you know, only 2, and then it says members, it gives you basically an opening to that, which you just addressed, which is fine. The other is only 1 member could be remote per meeting. How would we decide that if there were 2 people that were sick, let's say, and having them attend a meeting is kind of more important than not attending a meeting? I mean, obviously we would have to wait for that. That was just kind of bringing that up, whole idea up. That's all. Through you, sorry. I was talking to you about it, but.
I believe it states that the first one, the requests, is able to sign in virtually. Are there other steps such as a waiving that can be done for that as well on a case-by-case basis?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the limitations on the number of members who can participate in a meeting virtually and the number of times a member can participate in a meeting virtually during a calendar year has not changed from the current bylaw. Again, if more than 1 member would like to participate virtually, I would ask council to waive the procedural bylaw at that time.
I guess the other example that came to my mind was like if there was a significant storm or something, we could just go to at the call of the chair, we could go to strictly a virtual meeting and do it online.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. These limitations don't apply to meetings that are held wholly electronically. So meaning that everybody participates via Zoom.
Thank you. Did I see your hand up, Councillor Budrick, for another question or no? Okay. Councillor Parks.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just had a question in regards to the members not being able to participate in closed session electronically. I don't remember that conversation or through these discussions.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Parks. Again, this provision was originally in the current bylaw. The reason that we have proposed no changes to this is because there's no guarantee on confidentiality when someone is participating via Zoom. You know, in the room when you're in the Odessa room, I could close the door and make sure that no one's behind it and no one's listening in. But when someone's participating via Zoom, I can't guarantee that confidentiality, which is why I've proposed no changes to this provision.
Thank you. Any other questions for clarification? Seeing none. The recommendation with the report is that the report from the Corporate Services, Strategy and Innovation Department, February 13th, 2024, where the proposed new procedural bylaw be received. That the draft bylaw 2024-11, a bylaw to govern the proceedings of the council of the Corporation of Loyalist Township, attached hereto as attachment 1, be enacted, and the council directs staff to review this citizen appointment policy and bring revisions forward for council's consideration with the committee framework report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Willis, so moved, seconded by Councillor Ennis. Mover, any comments? Seconder?
Through the mayor, just to thank staff for bringing this forward. I do think it will help with council business, make it more efficient and effective. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Any other members? Deputy Mayor.
Through you, your worship, I have an amendment which I'd like to propose, and then if the movers considered it friendly, I would be able to discuss it.
Proceed. Thank you.
So I would move that section 11.1C in the proposed bylaw be amended to read as follows. When a motion is presented, it shall be read by the mover of the motion or the clerk when directed by the presiding officer before debate, and the motion shall be stated in the form in which it will be recorded in the minutes.
Okay. So is that clear? Are we able to share on the screen anything with that, or is it, you're not at your computer? Did you catch that for the mover and seconder for a friendly?
I wouldn't mind hearing.
Okay, could you repeat it, please?
Absolutely. That in section 11.1C in the proposed bylaw be amended to read as follows. When a motion is presented, it shall be read by the mover of the motion or the clerk when directed by the presiding officer before debate, and the motion shall be stated in the form in which it will be recorded in the minutes.
You understand that then? Okay. Are you comfortable making the decision on it, whether it's friendly or not?
I consider it to be friendly.
Friendly? Seconder? Okay. Do you want to speak to it then?
Yeah, so I must give the clerk credit for that, the wording of that, and for entertaining some of my concerns earlier today, as well as the CAO. I've been a bit of a pain in the backside. What I'm trying to address is that since we have gone to recorded meetings and virtual format, it's been necessary for accessibility reasons for the viewing audience to be able to hear everything that is made. And in order to accommodate that, the convention has been thus far that the chair has read out the resolution, and then subsequently council has simply, gone, so moved or what have you. What I'm trying to do by this is to set the precedent that individual members of council are able to move the recommendation. It just, to my mind, it gives individual councilors more agency in moving the agenda. It doesn't centralize it entirely in the hands of the chair, and allows councilors to, be able to make motions. And what the language that the clerk has kindly provided me also ensures, however, is that when councilors do make a motion, that whatever it is that they say is what will be recorded in the minutes as the motion. So that helps the clerk out by avoiding situations in which, is that clear as mud, Madam Clerk? So whatever a councilor moves, that would be the motion. And of course, in our agendas, we are already provided with, a possible resolution based on the recommendations. So it's not overly complicated. I'm just proposing that rather than that be read out by the chair every single time, that individual members of council are able to have more agency in moving the agenda. That was the motivation behind the amendment.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Parks?
Just a question for clarification, if I can.
Yes.
So essentially, you're asking the recommendation is made, and the report is brought forward, and then you're asking for the motion to be reread again, the recommendation?
No, I'm saying that, once we're finished, the question portion, with staff, and it's time to make a motion based on what's recommended in the report, that an individual member of council can bring that forward, that it doesn't have to be the chair.
Just saves my voice. Any other questions or comments? Before we call the question? Seeing none, go back to the mover for final. Nothing? Oh. Yes.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to clarify, there's an amendment on the floor and you're going to vote on the amendment? Is that, because I heard you say friendly amendment, so I just want to make sure that.
It was received as friendly by the mover and seconder.
If I could make a suggestion that we don't make any friendly amendments at this time, because the recommendation from staff is for you to adopt and enact the bylaw that's presented in front of you tonight. So I just don't want any confusion when I go back to my desk to print the bylaw. So if I could just get an amending motion, that would be appreciated.
Understood. So to be moved. Yes, if you want to make the motion then.
So again, I would move that section 11.1C in the proposed bylaw be amended to read as follows. When a motion is presented, it shall be read by the mover of the motion or the clerk when directed by the presiding officer before debate, and the motion shall be stated in the form in which it will be recorded in the minutes.
So moved. We have a seconder? Councillor Willis. Any further comments? Seeing none. So we're voting only on the amendment, whether it would be included in the bylaw and replace the existing section 11C, I believe it was. So with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Amendment has passed. So we'll go back to the original recommendation. And we had a mover and seconder. We had discussion. Any final comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. And the next item is revisions to Waterworks bylaw. Good evening. Any additional information to be shared at this time?
Actually, thank you, Your Worship. Yes, if I may, I do have a couple of clarifications, actually, one clarification and one correction. I wanted to clarify that the section in the report that talks about set fines, once the bylaw is approved by council, staff will be applying to the provincial court to set fines for this bylaw, and it's for ease of enforcement. The wording in the report may not have been entirely clear as to where the authority to set fines rests. So I just wanted to clarify that we will be applying to the provincial court to set some fines for that bylaw. The correction that we're requesting before the bylaw is approved by council is in Article 2.1 of the proposed bylaw, and it's regarding authority. So the word engineer needs to be changed to director. This is a remnant from the previous bylaw, which used the term township engineer. So what we don't want to change the authority, we just want to change the title because the director needs to continue to be the delegated authority for the operations of the waterworks, while council continues to set rates for those waterworks. So we just wanted to have that word change before council approves the bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for clarification this time? Seeing none. The recommendation is that the report from Utilities Division, February 13th, 2024, revisions to the Waterworks bylaw be received, and that bylaw 2024-012, being a bylaw to regulate waterworks and water use in Loyalist Township, be enacted and passed. Do we have a mover? Councillor Willis, so moved. Deputy Mayor, seconded. Any comments from the mover? Seconder? Anyone else? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. And the next is a request to remove holding symbol, CDN Homes. Welcome. Is there any further information to be shared at this time?
Through the mayor, we have nothing further to add to the report.
Any questions for clarification from council? Being none, the recommendation is that the report from the Development Services Division, February 13th, 2024, read D14-018-2023, CD Homes, Block 33, Plan 29M57 Emma Street. Request for removal of holding symbol be received, and that the bylaw 2024-03, being a bylaw to remove the holding symbol with respect to Block 33 on Plan 29M57 be enacted and passed. Do we have a mover? Councillor Broderick, so moved, seconded by Councillor Budrick. Any comments? Rest of council, seeing none, call the question. Motion is passed. Thank you. Request to close road allowance. Is there any additional information on this item?
Through the mayor, nothing further to add at this time.
Council, any questions for clarification? Councillor Broderick.
Through you, your worship, just a question. So this road allowance was closed in 1989. Okay. And the landowners at that time were given an option to buy it, and obviously the township didn't follow through, or whoever at the time. I'm just wondering, I'm just asking, do we really need what am I calling it here? Another look at, or help me out, you're the real estate person. Thank you. An appraisal of that property, because unless we're going to reopen it and put a road there, there's really no value to it. And I guess if this purchase goes through, however it goes through, then does that mean we should be selling off the rest? Because once you've blocked in one, it's kind of useless to have a bunch of property that belongs to us, but we're not doing anything with it.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yes, through the mayor to Councillor Broderick. So the first question, we're asking for an appraisal at this time, as it will allow for the site to be developed, as well will allow us to put a price on the road allowance itself. So we found that is an appropriate mechanism to sell road allowances. In terms of the second question, yes, ultimately it would, any neighbor who abuts it would be allowed to purchase the road allowance. So at this time, if neighbors would like to come forward and purchase the road allowance that abuts it, we go through the same process.
Just follow up through you again, your worship. So when you say development in that whole appraisal, what do you mean by that? Like the township might build something on this piece of property, or like, can you be just a little clearer on that for me?
Yes, sorry, yes, through the mayor to Councillor Broderick. Sorry, I meant the development of the site itself, because right now it splits the two properties and really limits the development potential of the properties, as the property that is closer to County Road 4 would be very small, and they, unfortunately, because the road allowance runs through the properties, they couldn't develop the north of the property because it doesn't have any road frontage. So once the parcels come together, the site itself, the combined parcel, will have a greater development potential than the two properties as they are right now.
Through you again, or just a generalization, would it be in the township interest maybe to contact other property owners and sort of get it all done at once? Just the thought.
Through the mayor, that could be a possibility, yes.
Any other questions for clarification? Being none, the recommendation with the report is that the report from the Development Services Division, February 13th, 2024, request to purchase closed road allowance between lot 19 and 20, concession 2, closed by LA 162597 between Millhaven Road and CN Rail, be received. Its staff be authorized to proceed with a request to sell a portion of the closed road allowance described as road allowance between lot 19 and 20, concession 2, closed by LA 162597 between Millhaven Road and CN Rail, in accordance with township policy, and that in addition to the requirements of Township Bylaw 2004-33, being a bylaw to establish procedures governing the sale of real property, that the intent to deem a portion of the road allowance surplus and sell to the abutting property owner, an appraisal be obtained, and the sale price be based on the appraised value. Do I have a mover? Councillor Broderick, so moved, seconded by Councillor Budrick. Any comments? Mover, seconder, anyone else? Call the question. All in favor? Motion has passed. Assumption of works. Is there any additional information you wanted to share at this time?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Any questions for clarification? Seeing none, the recommendation with the report is that the Engineering and Environmental Division report, February 13th, 2024, reassumption of works be received. The bylaw 2024-013 being a bylaw to assume a portion of Dr. Richard James Crescent and Pierce Street as shown on registered plan 29M 53 as a public street be enacted and passed. The bylaw to 2024-014 being a bylaw to assume a portion of Country Club Drive as shown on registered plan 29M 32 as a public street be enacted and passed. The bylaw 2024-015 being a bylaw to assume a portion of Country Club Drive as shown on registered plan 1195 as a public street be enacted and passed. The bylaw 2024-016 being a bylaw to assume a portion of Superior Drive and Walden Pond Drive be shown on registered plan 29M 59 as a public street be enacted and passed. And the bylaw 2024-017 being a bylaw to assume William Henderson Drive and Jack Davy Drive as shown on registered plan 29M10 as a public street be enacted and passed. Do we have a mover? Councillor Budrick, seconded by Councillor Ennis. Any comments? Any council? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Communication for consideration. The Association of Ontario Supervisors regarding funding of municipal equipment operator course. Any questions? Clarification? Excuse me. So there's two options for the motion here. The council received the correspondence from the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors regarding funding of the municipal equipment operator course, or the motion that was included with the correspondence. Whereas municipal public works departments from across the province of Ontario provide invaluable services in our communities, ensuring the health and safety of all residents. And whereas if it was not for our municipal public works employees from across the province of Ontario maintaining our public road system, our communities would not be able to function as emergency personnel could not respond to calls. School buses could not get our children to school. Residents would not be able to get to work, school, or appointments, and many more basic functions would not be able to happen. And whereas municipal public works departments are already feeling the impacts of a labor shortage, which will only be exacerbated over the next 3 to 5 years, which will cause level of service municipalities are able to provide to ensure the health and safety of our residents to decrease. And whereas there is currently no provincial-wide course that properly trains potential municipal public works employees specifically related to municipal heavy equipment, therefore, it be resolved, the council, the Corporation of Loyalist Township supports the work of the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors to develop a municipal equipment operator course to address this issue. And Loyalist Township calls on the province of Ontario, Ministry of Labor, Training, Immigration, and Skilled Trades to fully fund the municipal equipment operator course in 2024 through the Skills Development Fund. And that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Minister of Labor, Training, Immigration, and Skilled Trades, David Pecuniary, Rick Brzee, Member of Provincial Parliament, and the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors. We have an option. Which option does council wish? Councillor Prodrick.
Move that take the second option, the recommendation, the second option, the resolution.
The resolution, so moved. Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Comments from the mover? As long as I don't have to read it. Thank you. Seconder, any comments? Anyone else? I thank you. I think this is a very good opportunity, and the reputation of AORs, I believe, will make this a very good venture. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. We have a notice of motion provided by Councillor Prodrick regarding the enforcement of seasonal overnight parking restrictions in accordance with section 23.2 of the procedural bylaw. Councillor Prodrick, would you like to read your motion?
Through your worship, motion that staff be directed to review the enforcement of seasonal overnight parking restrictions within the parking bylaw 2007-31.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, seconded. And we don't have discussion on this, right? It just goes to the next meeting?
No, you may discuss the motion that's on the table.
Okay. I drew a blank on that one. Mover, any comments?
Just some comments, your worship. One of the things that, and I'm sure other councillors have it, we get often every year comments about township gouging people because of enforcement of a bylaw. Given conditions of the past few seasons, I just think it's time maybe to look at it and whether, for example, whether the December 1st is a date that could be moved later. And again, leaving it up to staff, but there may be options such as, January 1st to March 1st or whatever the option is. But obviously, there's always an option for the mayor to declare a state. I don't want to say state of emergency, but there must be a mechanism where the mayor can direct that well, maybe this is state emergency in terms of a severe storm like we had last year. I think it was Christmas Day or whatever. But I know that bylaws are always being looked at, and I just think this is one that I'd like to have a good conversation about.
Seconder, any comments?
I'm happy to support the motion for the reasons the mover gave.
Any other comments? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Are there any other notices of motion this evening? Are there any direct motions to be presented this evening? None. Consent agenda for the purpose of convenience, expediting a meeting Matters of business that are repetitive or routine in nature are included in the consent agenda. They'll all be, they can all be voted on collectively, and any item can be extracted to have an independent vote by any member of council. Are there any items you wish to extract? Councillor Parks.
Sorry, yes, 23-1.
23-1, Lewis Parkway?
Yep.
Okay. Any other items to be extracted this evening? Seeing none, the recommendation is that the items 20 to 24 in the consent agenda dated February 13th, 2024 be approved as presented, with the necessary action being taken, with the exception of item 23.1, which was extracted. We have a mover. Councillor Broderick, seconded by Councillor Parks. Any comments? Council, Deputy Mayor.
Rather than extract them for this purpose, just congratulations to our new Fire Chief, Kent Redmond, and our Deputy Fire Chief, Mike Grenham, and we look forward to getting to know them more in their new capacity.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. And 23.1, I turn it over to Councillor Parks.
Thank you, Your Worship. I mean, maybe should have extracted this and just commented on it. This is a committee that I sit on. It's Loyalist Parkway Association. They look after different things from on the parkway from Quinte West right through to Amershoe, the east gates in Amershoe at the park. And one of the projects that they're going to be doing this year that they're undertaking is putting in bicycle repair stations along the parkway, so that when people are operating their bikes and doing their tours, if they have a breakdown on their bike, they'll be able to fix it en route and not have to worry about going into a community. And we're working with staff to try to find a location in Bath.
Very good. Could I just ask that you make a motion for this one?
Motion to receive and support. Is that what we would do? Or just receive?
It's under information, so probably just receive
Okay.
information. It would be adequate.
Okay.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Budrick. Seconder, any comments? Anyone else? Councillor Broderick.
Just for my own information, I see one of the expenses is Collins Bay and District Horticultural Society. Is that something that's sent out to groups within our own township, or does Collins Bay District include us?
So that's money that's paid out to the Collins Bay and District Horticultural Society for maintaining the Eastern Gateway Gardens. So that's something that's an annual expense that goes out to them.
Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Updates from members appointed to county council committees or local boards. Does anyone have anything to bring forward from their committees or boards? None. Members' privilege. Anything to bring forward this evening? Councillor Willis.
Through your worship, I have two. The first is to express condolences to the family of David John Vrooman, who lived on Amherst Island until his 81st year. He passed away on January 31st, and he was a member of Amherst Island Council, as well as a volunteer fireman after he had retired to the area. So very sorry for his wife Rosemary and their children. On a happier note, I'd like to congratulate the Amherst Island Community Alliance for a very successful winter festival this Saturday. It was an idea that came from the Great Lakes Island Alliance that they have been participating with. And many island groups came together and put together activities. So St. Paul's and the Women's Institute started the day with a pancake breakfast. The Amherst Island Men's Society created a car rally that was interesting and very frustrating. The Nielsen Store Museum and Cultural Center hosted a number of seniors reminiscing about the history of the island and back in the day. And the Amherst Island Rec Committee hosted a Frisbee football game. And we all wound up at the lodge at 7 o'clock for a pub night. So very successful first time an event, and I congratulate them for all working together to make that happen.
Thank you. I did see some pictures from the lodge. Looked like everyone was enjoying themselves, and they know what they're doing if they start the day with food. You're gonna end up with a crowd. Councillor Broderick.
I don't know if this is on the sad side or the good side. I attended the Bath Legion session this past Saturday, and many will know that the Legion's been closed since February 1st, and it was a rather energetic, robust crowd that was there, and hopefully there'd be a path forward to reopening sometime down the road, but if community members support that in a membership or however, we'd most appreciate it.
Councillor Parks.
Just to add to that, they are having their annual general meeting on March the 7th, I think it is, or March 6th. Yeah, so if people can attend, that would be great.
Thank you. Any other items? Deputy Mayor.
Through you, your worship, I would like to extend condolence to the family of Daryl Cramp. Obviously, Mr. Cramp was our member federally for Hastings LNA for many years, and then latterly our member of provincial parliament. We send condolence to his family, particularly, of course, our current member of parliament, Shelby, his daughter, and hopefully all the events marking his passing will make note of his great service to our two counties.
Thank you. Any other items? Councillor Budrick.
Got a couple, and I thought Councillor Product was going to do the one I was leaving it for him, but I'm not letting it go missed. Congratulations first to Amherst resident, my grade 7 teacher, Ted Carson, on being inducted into the Kingston and Area Sports Hall of Fame. And the other is condolences to one of my best friends, Mom's Lois Hogel, who was a 27-year crossing guard. Her passing a couple weeks was still tough, but anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Any other items to bring forward? Seeing none. Confirmatory bylaw. I have a mover for the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Willis, seconded by Councillor Ennis. All in favor? Motion is passed. We have the upcoming meeting dates, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillor Budrick, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Motion is passed. We are adjourned, 7:53.